Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Damien Hunt. I am the KUMDC School Support Officer. I am so excited to bring this presentation to you guys today in a particular topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is mentoring. And so let's go ahead and get started and let's have a good time. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and we will go ahead and look them over at the end. And hopefully I answer your questions. So let's do this. Let's think. Think about this. Who helped you to have that aha moment in your life that gave you some insight to who you are, regardless of the circumstance? Who assisted you in getting the very best out of yourself? Who was it that if it was not for them, you wouldn't be able to do what you do today? You wouldn't even know where you're going today. Who tapped into that untapped well of potential that led you to your purpose? Who that is? Most likely, that's the person. Most likely, that is your mentor. The mentor and the mentee typically have a relationship where they find each other. It's organically grown. And most of the time, when it comes to the mentor, they may see a little bit of themselves inside the mentee, and they feel like they have the ability to assist them, and regardless of what's going on in that mentee's life. For the mentee, they see something in the mentor that they aspire to be. This is the mentor. So, what is mentoring? I'm glad you asked that question. Now, here you go. Yes, that is me there. What is a mentor? Very simple. Basically, mentoring, you're influencing a person towards development. It empowers an individual. It helps them develop who they are from the grassroots. A lot of times, when it comes to being a mentor, you're searching to pour into someone, and as a mentee, you're searching for someone to pour into you. So let's think about this as an example: a water in a vase. The water is definitely the mentor. The vase is the mentee. Based upon the capacity of that vase, determines exactly how much you want to pour into the individual. It is a helpful tool that actually develops relationship based upon mutual trust and respect. This, my friends, is what mentoring is all about. So let's look at it this way. A mentor is like let's just say a contractor. Okay, you can actually, or many of us have seen the cartoon Bob the Builder. You can actually take raw material and build whatever you want to do. Now, there is a difference between being a mentor and a coach, but the mentor takes raw materials. Build, we you take the wood, you take the nails, you take the sheetrock. You're able to do all these materials and build a skyscraper. A coach, on the other hand, is very similar to, let's say, for an example, the Property Brothers. The structure is already there. You may take down a wall, you may add some paint, you may add some other fixings, but they add to things that are already there. So the biggest difference between being a mentor and a coach is that the mentor is there for the long haul. They could be there for 10, 15, 30 years. In most cases, a coach is there temporarily because it's the end result is the key. It's the finish line. That is some of the biggest difference between being a mentor versus being the coach. Now, some will disagree with me, as I've also coached sports for over 25 years. But I can tell you, as a mentor, I have a long vested interest in making sure that I see what I poured into the seed that I plant not only goes from a seedling, it goes into a redwood. A coach sometimes prunes and makes sure that there's nothing stagnant and there's nothing that would take away from the player or the individual that they're coaching. To me, my personal opinion, that is the biggest difference between being a mentor versus a coach. So why mentoring? Well, then that's easy because mentoring assures that young people that there is someone that cares about them, wholeheartedly. And in today's society, where young people or individuals necessarily don't feel like that people are actually caring about them, they feel like there's an ulterior motive. It's very important to have a mentor in hand because they know that they can use that mentor as a sounding board. And that mentor can also help that mentee shuffle through the dysfunctions, shuffle through a lot of the debris that life has poured into them. As a matter of fact, let's take, for example, a mentor is also similar to that of an excavator. An excavator removes debris, removes dirt and grime out of the way so certain things happen. Greatness is already in that individual, but it takes a mentor sometimes to remove the debris to allow that the greatness to flourish like a seed. When you put too much dirt on top inside of a seed, you smother it, you kill it. As a mentor, we help remove that stuff to make sure that that seed takes root. So also, and when it comes to being a mentor, it isolates it to, it can be isolated. It can actually be small groups as well, but it promotes personal well-being. It spreads the culture of positivity, and it provides a vehicle of care and inspire to build character. Mentoring research confirms that quality mentoring relationships have powerful positive effects on young people in a variety of personal and academic and professional situations. This is why you need mentoring in your area. Why mentoring? Because it will advance learning performances in the classroom and help raise students' achievements. Why mentoring? Because it will promote personal well-being. The mentee will now start to take ownership of who they are in the development of the next future uh, greatness that's coming their way. Why mentoring? As I stated before, it spreads a culture of the school. It would literally change the outcome of the entire school when you have mentoring. And when you have mentoring, academics improve. Why mentoring? Because now you have the students actually wanting to be at the school. They don't want to miss, they don't want to disappoint the person that's pouring into them. That is why it's important to have mentoring. So the next question is then, who can become a mentor? Well, anyone can become a mentor, but not everyone will be a mentor. Understand this. It is completely possible that a certain demographic will not suit the description of being a primary mentor, i.e., parents, family members, or neighbors. I can't tell you how often I've gone to talk to parents and they're trying to be their kid's mentor. You're too close. And so your child will not necessarily want you to know about some of the finite details in their lives. Your mom, your dad, you're the guardian, and they trust that you're going to not necessarily have an unbiased opinion. It's always going to be your way. At least that's how the young person would see it. The mentor-mentee relationship is organic, as I stated before. It appears to grow out of nowhere, but understand that the foundation is definitely trust. We all know that trust is not a fast forward development. It is a slow process. Let's take this for an example. The difference between having a microwave and a crock pot. What a lot of people tend to do is want the instant gratification of a microwave, but they want the tenderness and the goodness of the food of the crock pot. That is not how mentoring is. It's definitely slow. It's definitely where everything comes together, and that is what mentoring is all about. So you want to ask who can be a mentor? A lot of people are able to do so. Not many will. This is an awesome, um, I think, I guess, an awesome thing to actually go on. And I'll read it verbatim when it says, "When veterans and novices work together in a nurturing relationship, each gets something of real value from the other. Veterans gain energy, novices gain inspiration. Isolation fades, connection flourishes, and pain turns into wisdom. a joyful wisdom that makes the difficulties in our work endurable and keeps both veteran, the mentor, and novice, the mentee, coming back for more. This is by David Shoemaker. And I think that this is a very, very important, uh, I guess you could say, excerpt from his book, A Tale of Two Children. If you have not gotten the opportunity to read it, please write this book down. It's phenomenal. So now, not an exact science is an understatement when it comes to being a mentor, because the truth be told, there's no cookie cutter approach to do this. When you're trying to be a mentor, it's legitimately trying to figure out, like a lot of physics and chemists do. You add a little bit of this, you add a little bit of that, and it may work for Jimmy. You may have to add a lot of this and a lot of that, and that may work for Susie. So it's literally just developing relationship, trying to find your rhythm with the person. Just think about dancing, think about science, think about the rhythms that you need to have in order for you to orchestrate. The end goal is to catch the beat and to work in harmony and camaraderie. That is why mentoring is not an exact science, but it is possible. So again, who can be a mentor? Well, quality mentoring is more than just pairing a mentor and a mentee. It's supposing that both of you guys work together. The mentor wants to see the person do the best. As a matter of fact, great mentors want to see the mentee do better than they do. And as being a mentor for a number of years myself, I've never I've never been satisfied to work with a person that only wants to get to where I am. I am pushing for them to go bigger, better, farther. And when you have that, man, you have something special. So let's think about this. When you're a mentor, you are a hero. It is not a one size fit all type deal. What you do for one, you may not do for the other, and vice versa. When you're a hero, you have to also take this in consideration. It's going to take some time, and the accomplishments will impact the mentee's bottom line. What are they working toward? And why am I saying that the mentor is the hero? Well, the truth of the matter is, if you are not in the right frame of mind as a mentee, depression ensues. Other mental issues also ensue. It is almost to the point where you have to be everything to that mentee to pull them out of the rut that they're in. And sometimes that's the strength that's going to maybe have to fight maybe fight a gorilla of sorts. uh Maybe that's Superman having to leap, the tallest building and run faster than a speeding bullet train. That is what a mentor do. Is going to take long hours. It's going to take an investment of time. It's going to take that you are going to consider being different and having different approaches to get the attention of the mentee. This is why mentors are needed. This is why mentors are the very foundation of success in most people's lives. You have to build confidence and focus on their abilities. That is what it's about. Don't identify the student as an ESE student or a problem child, because we are in the realm of special education. You have the power to energize the mentee. You have the power to energize them to be the best version of themselves, and to also to see them beyond their current situation when they can't. You have the ability to understand their superpowers within your positivity. You are a hero when you become a mentor. So let's investigate some things, shall we? This means great mentors realize that they're playing a long game. And as a result, are patient in how they guide others down the path is important. They don't expect immediate gains, and they don't give up easily either. More importantly, they care about maintaining and growing their professional relationship. That is the mentor and mentee relationship. The old adage of what you don't know won't harm you needs to be dispelled. Directly, what you may not know may not harm you indirectly, but it will harm someone else directly. The mentor pushes the envelope of building rapport with a mentee and outside of the IEP and the academic rigor. Now, don't get me wrong, IEPs are extremely important, but it is living, which means it's forever changing. And based upon when you're taking that IEP determines the fate of that individual in a lot of cases. Let's take, for example, if a young person had a bad day and just got arrested, and that is now in his IEP, that was a bad day. That was a moment of weakness. That is not the individual. Again, this is what happens when you're building rapport. When you're building rapport, you help the mentee navigate through difficult times, especially in adolescence. With all the hormones and everything's going on, peer pressure, a mentor will help sort of stabilize the uncertainty of life. Building rapport also involves and connects youth to progressive academics, community, and life choices. Building rapport also helps bridge gaps for student to student, students with disabilities. When you have mentors, you have somebody that is now emboldening a young person to be the best version of themselves. So now you have someone who realizes the disability does not have me. I have a disability. It's important because now as a mentor, you're pouring into that young person. When you build rapport, you connect the students through a mutual relationship. And because they are purposefully wanting to be there, change will take place. They dress better. They got a better attitude. They're a solid student within the school. They're a solid individual within their community. And guess what? Somebody's watching that individual and wants to do the same thing. And it reverberates and it keeps going like a ripple in an ocean. Whenever you throw something in it, it literally travels for miles upon miles upon miles. This is why building rapport is so important. So, how does mentoring help with transition? Well, mentoring helps the mentee stay focused and on track. It identifies skill sets. It models that works using real life or research experience. Mentoring creates a vision and develops a game plan. Mentoring helps think about where the mentee needs to go in the long run and what can help them get there. This is what mentoring does. Mentorship works to help also increase graduation success rates. Mentoring also helps support our state performance plan, indicators 1 and 2. But the most important thing is because we have students with disabilities, we provide resources as mentors. We make sure that they have a successful post-secondary outcome. This is what mentoring does. And this is how KUMDC helps with mentorship. Successful mentoring in education. These are the success and research-based experience based upon mentorship in education. And I'm going to read them specifically. 37% less likely to skip class. 46% less likely to start using illegal drugs. 52% less likely to skip a full day. 55% more likely to do things and have post-secondary outcomes and other options. 59% of mentored youth earn better grades, and 130% hold more leadership positions. This is the importance of mentorship. Every school in America should have a mentoring program. Now, this is the mentoring in employment, which again, post-secondary outcomes. 71% of Fortune 500 companies have mentoring programs. 25% of employees who enrolled in those mentoring programs get paid higher. Mentees are 5 times more promoted. 68% millennials stay with companies 5 years, which is key. Typically, and nowadays, where it's not as cool for with some young people to stay with the company past 18 months to 2 years. Can you imagine now them actually be invested in the company and they're only like 25, 26 years old? And 89% of mentees become mentors. So look at your retention rate. It's phenomenal. But through all of this, let me tell you why mentoring is so important. A graduation needs to take place. And I know it sounds crazy, but motivation is great. Motivation is absolutely outstanding. But motivation is an outward push from an individual. The mentor needs to pour into the young person. So now inspiration is the key. Inspiration says, well, let me back up. Motivation says, you can do it. I believe in you. I know you can get this done. Inspiration says, I can do it. I know I have what it takes. I know it's going to be difficult, but I will push through. You see the difference between you can do it, then I can do it? When this graduation takes place, my friends, you're talking about having such a success that you get the Steve Jobs, you get the Bezos, you get the Bill Gates, you get the Denzel Washingtons, you get that is what motivation does and inspiration is. If you know the difference between the two, I promise you, you will have a successful young person when you pour into them and help them graduate from motivation to inspiration. These are just a few of the curriculums that we use, that I use particularly. My favorite is Overcoming Obstacles. It's free. And it has so many different topics, so many different menus and sub menus, and so many different examples and projects and activities that you can do using Overcoming Obstacles. But Check and Connect is a really good one as well. The Tough Kid Social Skills book. That's a really good one to deal with, some of the social skills that some of our SWDs or students with disabilities tend to have difficulties and challenges with. Gives you a lot of resources with that. Of course, I mentioned Overcoming Obstacle. And of course, our partners, Project 10, Transition Education Network, they have a plethora of curriculums and a plethora of topics that they talk about. Standing up for me is awesome. Self advocacy is downright stellar, and self-determination is really, really good. So that leads me to an example of mentoring. About I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so, um, there was an amazing movie that was actually called The Help. And if you look at the subtitle there, I'm sorry, the actual, I guess you could say the mantra or the motto there, change begins with a whisper. And why I'm decided to use this particular movie. This was starring Viola Davis, um, who plays an African American maid by the name of Abilene Clark, in the South, deep South of Jackson, Mississippi, to be exact, during segregation time. So most of us are privy to the hardships and the difficulties during that time. There were many messages in this movie that will typically send you on an actual emotional roller coaster. But there is one message at that time that I saw to be true mentorship. The help in mentoring. Aileen cleaned houses and had dinner ready for the family to eat every single day as their maid. Her responsibilities that she took the most pride was helping a little girl, May Mobley. See right there in this little picture, the little girl right there that Viola is actually holding. She was helping this family. This is Aileen, also known as Viola Davis, helping this affluent family with all the things that they needed to do. Miss Mobley, the mother of the young girl there, was too busy being the talk of the town. She had to be the life of the party. Of every, I mean, you name it, and any and everybody that was somebody would come to Miss Mobley's parties. The richest of families, they would partake of these special soirees. But there was one thing missing about Miss Mobley. She had a time to do everything else but be a mother to her child. This is where Abilene would pick up the slack. The part that spoke to me the most is that anytime baby girl, which was the nickname Viola would give little May, baby girl would cry because her mom did not have the time to be there. Abilene would always say these words. Now, this is not exactly uh, proper grammar, but I'm going to say exactly the way Abilene Clark actually said it to May. You is kind, you is smart, you is important. I'm going to repeat that. You is kind, you is smart, you is important. But look at the effect of these simple but powerful words. This impact would definitely ensure that every single thing that this young impressionable girl needs to hear was said, not by her mom, not by her dad, not by the people that were attending Mrs. Mobley's I mean, big time bashes throughout the town. It was said by the maid, the help. You see, mentorship is much like the help. You need reinforcements of positivity. You need encouragement. You need love. You need appreciation. You need to feel like you are a part of something bigger than yourself. That's what mentoring does. So, in conclusion, if you have fallen on your way to the top, good, you're on your way. But if you have learned from watching others fall on your way to the top, congratulations, you are there. And what am I saying with this statement? That we learn from other people's mistakes. We learn from other people's experiences. We don't always have to experience the experience. We can learn by other people. As a mentor, and I'll speak for myself, I have made enough mistakes in my life. I have had quite a few experiences, some good and some bad. I would much rather my mentee learn from my mistakes so he or she does not have to repeat the mistakes that I have made. That is what a mentor is all about. And I like to end this as I like to end a great deal of all of my presentations. Life is a Ford. It's an excursion, an explore, an escape, an expedition. You have to focus, and sometimes you have to slow down, and that's your tempo. You see, life requires us to take our time and pace ourselves. That's the tempo part. In all, we have to understand that this thing we call life is a marathon, not a sprint. If we understand this, we know that we have the help and we have to help one another as much as we can. Mentoring can aid a person to cross the finish line into their purpose. Here at KUMDC, which is Kaiser University Multidisciplinary Center, these are some of the things that we go over, some of the topics: anger management, conflict resolution, motivation, self motivation, transition, career, pre employment, and so much more. But the important thing is we want to help you help the individuals that you are in charge of. We care about what the young people are going to do because eventually these are the same ones that are going to be our leaders. We're going to be depending on a lot of these young people. Would you not have a lot more vested interest if you knew that the person that you're mentoring may actually be the owner of a company that you may actually have to do business with? Wouldn't you love to hear that the young person that you mentored will be the president of the United States? Wouldn't you mentor? I'm sorry, wouldn't you be happy to know that the person that you're mentoring is literally changing the world one step at a time, all because of the influence that you have? These are some of the references that I use to fulfill this particular presentation. If you want to look them up, you're more than welcome to. And if they have any questions or comments or anything of that nature, go ahead and ask them. I don't know if anything's in the chat. Uh, that's pretty much it for my presentation. I want to thank everybody for your time, for coming out, and yeah, let's go ahead and be the best mentors we can be. But if you can't be a mentor, try being a coach. That they're very important as well.